ഇദ്ദേഹം എൻ്റെ പിന്നാലെ വന്നിട്ട് എൻ്റെ കോളർ പിടിച്ചു. പിന്നെ എൻ്റെ കഴുത്ത് പിടിക്കുക, എൻ്റെ കൈ പിടിച്ചു ഒടിക്കുക, എൻ്റെ ഫോൺ എങ്ങനെയും തിരിച്ചു വാങ്ങാനുള്ള ശ്രമങ്ങൾ നടത്തുക. എന്നിട്ടാണ് നമുക്കത് പുറത്തു വിടാൻ പറ്റില്ല, വാർത്തയാക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു.
Vivek Kiran had every right to go to Guruvayoor temple. Every single right. His father is a communist. His party says religion is the opium of the masses. But Vivek Kiran is not his father. He is a citizen of India. Article 25 protects his faith, and I will defend that. But here is where everything breaks open. There was a journalist named Raju at Guruvayoor that morning, camera in hand, doing his job. What happened next, I want you to count with me. Violation number 1. Raju filmed a public figure in a public space outside the temple. That is constitutionally protected. They demanded he delete it. Violation number 2. They grabbed his shirt, surrounded him, dragged him, a journalist, in broad daylight at a temple. That is not a request, that is not privacy, that is assault. Criminal assault. Violation number 3. The temple administrator, a public servant, called Raju not to apologize, but to pressure him into silence. 3 violations, 1 family visit. 0 accountability. I'm Chandni and this is Unmasked, and today we count every single one of them. The 2 stories the media is getting wrong. Every channel is telling you one of the 2 things right now. See, side A says, how dare the CM's son go to temple? Communist hypocrisy. Side B says, leave him alone, it's just a private family visit. Stop harassing believers. Both sides are missing actual point, and that tells you everything about how broken our media today is. Let me bring you what Raju himself said in his own words to Big TV.
അല്ല, ഞങ്ങളൊരു സ്വകാര്യ സന്ദർശനമാണ്, അതുകൊണ്ട് വാർത്ത വരേണ്ടതില്ല, ഞങ്ങൾക്കതിൽ താല്പര്യമില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ട് അത് ഒഴിവാക്കണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, അതാ ഓക്കെ, ഞാൻ ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കോളാം, വാർത്ത കൊടുക്കുന്നില്ല, കാര്യം കഴിഞ്ഞില്ലേ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അതല്ല, അത് നിങ്ങൾ ഡിലീറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് കൊണ്ട് പോയാൽ മതി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, നടക്കില്ല, കാരണം ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ പ്രൊഫഷനാണ് ചെയ്തത്, ഞാനിവിടെ വരുന്ന വിഷ്വൽസ് ഞാൻ എടുത്തു.
He said this very clearly, that if they had simply told me this is a private visit, please don't run the story, I would have not given the news. Read that again. A journalist said, politely asked me to respect a private moment, I will. That is not a weakness, that is professionalism, that is grace. And that is exactly what Vivek Kiran's team failed to do. Instead of a polite request, which Raju says he would have honored, what came was next in Raju's own words. Gundayism, hooliganism, physical grabbing, intimidation, institutional phone calls. So let's be very clear, this story is not about whether a communist son can pray. He can. The story is about what happened after someone tried to film it. The incident as it actually happened. In the reel, we can see that the story circulating on social media says journalist attacked, footage deleted, case closed. But actually, Raju's own interview tells us something different. He was at Guruvayoor that morning for his regular assignment, the Guruvayoor Swagada Subrabhadam broadcast for Big TV. This was his beat, his territory. He was not chasing Vivek Kiran. He was just doing his normal job. When he spotted the CM's son coming with his family, wife, a child, another companion, near the Devasam guest house, he did what journalists actually do here. He rolled his camera from a distance outside in an open space. Vivek's wife approached him, not to request, to demand, what are you going to do with this footage? Then Raju asked, who are you? She identified herself as the wife. And at that point, Raju gave her an opening. He said, if you don't want me to run the news, just tell me. This is a private visit. I can hold the story. That should have been the end of it. A journalist offering dignity, offering restraint, offering to protect a private family moment voluntarily. But instead, the men moved in. Physical contact, shirt grabbed, pushed, surrounded. The footage forcibly targeted, and then the phone call from the temple administration asking him to delete what he had. Raju's words about all of this? What they showed was Gundayism, not his words against Vivek Kiran praying. His words against the response to being filmed. Let's see what went really wrong here. The violations in detail is we counted 3 violations in the opening. Now let's go deeper into each one of it. Violation number 1, the right to film in public space. The Guruvayoor there was some guest house area with that elephant corridor and all. The outer premises, these are not restricted zones. Filming a public figure in a public facing space is not just legal. It is constitutionally protected under Article 19(1)(a), freedom of expression. No one, not Vivek Kiran's wife, not his associates, not the temple administrator has the legal authority to order a journalist to delete that footage taken in that space. That is the law, not opinion. Law. Violation number 2. Physical assault on the press. Grabbing a person's shirt, surrounding them with multiple individuals, using physical force to intimidate. This is criminal assault under Indian law. Full stop. It does not matter whether whose son you are. A private citizen who did this would be in police station right now, but the fact that Raju, after being physically manhandled, still chose to delete the footage out of the courtesy does not erase what happened to his body and his dignity in those moments. Violation number 3. Institutional pressure by a public servant. The Guruvayoor Devasam Board is a public trust. Its administrator is a public servant, appointed to manage a temple, not to manage the media interest or political families. When that administrator picked up the phone and called Raju asking him to suppress footage, he crossed a very clear line. That call was not temple management. That call was political protection. And here is what binds all these 3 violations together. Raju offered them a way out, politely, professionally. They chose force, 3 separate times instead of courtesy once. That choice, that decision is what this story is really about. Everything is at the bigger picture is about power. Now I want you to talk about something that goes beyond this incident, because there is a legitimate conversation about ideology and faith happening underneath all of this noise. Can the son of a Marxist chief minister be a believer? Of course, yes. Absolutely, yes. Ideology is not genetic. Political affiliation does not erase personal spirituality. If anything, Vivek Kiran quietly seeking God while his father governs under a materialist banner is one of the most deeply human things in the story. But here is a question I want every Keralite to sit with. The same government that controls Guruvayoor Devasam Board, the same government that manages the funds, the administration and the entry rules of this sacred temple, is the government of a party that has spent decades in public conflict with Hindu religion sentiments, the Sabrimala controversy, the Devasam Board appointments, the temple tax collections. Millions of devotees, ordinary Keralites, have had their faith treated as a political football by the system. And now, when the CM's own family needs that temple, the temple's administration responds with a phone call to protect them from a journalist. That is not an attack on Vivek Kiran's faith. That is a question about who this system was built to protect. A system should protect every devotee equally, from the poorest family in Thrissur to the chief minister's son from Dubai. Right now, it appears that it doesn't. What should have happened and what still can be done is, what should Vivek Kiran's team have done? Simple. What Raju himself offered, asked politely, this is a private family visit, can you please hold this story? That's it. That's all it would have taken. A journalist, a professional, had already offered that grace, but they didn't have to use the force. They chose. What should Janam TV and Kerala's press bodies do now? File a formal complaint. Kerala Press Academy, National Human Rights Commission, Kerala High Court if needed, because if this is allowed to pass in silence, every journalist in Kerala becomes a little less free tomorrow. What should the government address? The contradiction, publicity, not about Vivek Kiran praying. That is his personal thing. That is his right and no one should question that. But about whether Devasam board administrators can be used as a buffer between political families and the press. That question deserves a public answer. Definitely. And what can you, watching this right now, do? Some of us can file an RTI asking whether state security was deployed during Vivek Kiran's visit to Guruvayoor. Because if state security was there, that is a public money protecting a private visit. And public money means public accountability. You have that right. Use it. Here is the truth I want you to walk away with today. Vivek Kiran's faith is his own, and I will protect that right for him the same way I would protect it for any ordinary Kerala standing in that same queue at 4 in the morning. But the moment his associates chose force over courtesy, they crossed a line that fate cannot excuse. The moment the temple administration called a journalist to protect a political family, they reminded every devotee who the system truly serves. 3 violations, 1 incident, 0 accountability. So far, press freedom is not a privilege for inconvenient moments. It is the last line of defense between power and the people. When they silence a journalist with their hands, they are reaching for your voice next. And Chandni, I'll see you for the next one. Stay connected.